Hi, it's the abstractionist. I wanted to do a video about where I'm at. So, as far as like scheduling and stuff like that, so as you know, I'm no longer doing monthlies because fuck that, that's too much. I'm still doing the quarterlies and stuff like that, but I was just like explaining to my friend that like so much is shifting in my life, and I kind of feel like I'm at the point where like I need an outlet outside of tarot. And it's like, it's not like I don't have them. It's like I write sometimes, I do a little doodle sometimes, stuff like that. But there was a reading that I watched, and she was talking about like, learning all this spiritual shit. Like, yeah, like that's cool, but like actually embodying it and kind of just like living and having your sort of enlightened experience here on earth by just walking and I'm cooking something, walking in that experience, like we're always, that's where you need to go, and that you shouldn't seek like kind of like just learning about stuff. It's almost like you have to like actually live life and embody these lessons. And so I'm like thinking about that, and I'm thinking about YouTube and where I want to go and stuff like that. Now, I will say I am going to do a video about decks that are leaving my collection. Officially, formally, really this time, because these decks really are leaving. What I've noticed with my deck collection is that I've had a great shift. So I do have decks that are personal and decks that are like more for online and stuff like that, and personal. And what I notice is that I've kind of moved more into oracle or tarot that's more anthropological, anthroposophical or some shit. Like, I don't know, like I'm less enthralled, I think, by just, ooh, they're shiny decks. Like I've noticed I like a lot more decks that are like collage, and they're dealing with like, I don't know, I feel like tapping in the deepest wounds of humanity, or like the deeper wounds of humanity, the deeper ties of humanity, the deeper questions of why humanity exists, why humanity continues to drive itself forward. Why does humanity go off in these many directions? Why does it turn on itself? Like greater questions that get to the core root of who we are. And I feel like a lot of decks, tarot decks, don't do that. And oracle decks, depending on how mass market they are, they may not go in that direction either. But I'm just like, this human experience, or just experience in general and perspectives, is what I want to explore. And I just feel like I don't have the decks for a lot of that. And my massage practice, when I get it up and running, because I still have to pay my debt off of that, is definitely getting into the more parasympathetic state, getting into core wounding, undoing the spiral, or working in a spiral and figuring out what blockages are still there, doing ancestral work, learning about that, learning about herbs, and just, it's a lot more broad. It's broader and bigger than tarot now. And I was just watching Sagittarium. I'm not subscribed. I kind of like dip in and dip out of like subscriptions. When I start to call subscriptions, I know that I'm shifting, because my interests have shifted. It doesn't mean I think you're that person, stuff like that. I find on Instagram, once I start unfollowing people, like I start losing followers and stuff like that, and it's just like, well, why? Like I'm not a follow for follow kind of person. I really don't care if you follow me back. Sometimes it gets like, a little bummy, but like if I'm not following you, it's only because I feel like I'm learning something else and I'm going in that direction. It's never really about, oh, you're not following me, so I'm not going to follow you anymore. It's more like I'm going in a certain direction, and I don't see you a part of that direction, and not like you're not enlightened enough or whatever. It's, I'm just heading in a certain direction. I don't see your work going in that direction. Or I genuinely just don't care for the content anymore. And peace out. So it gets weird on Instagram because people like to do follow for follow. And it's like after a certain point, you kind of like grow out of that. Even if it means like certain people, like you have to request them again. Child, if I remember in a year that you're there, just saying. Because, you go through so much content that like, how can you remember all this shit, And I'm thinking about all those stuff, and I'm thinking about all this Uranus kind of stuff, and I'm thinking about Pluto and Aquarius, I'm thinking about Uranus and Taurus, and I'm thinking about like this death energy that's coming up, but it's death in a very technological way, kind of like the remnants of you in an online space. It's kind of weird to describe, like the death of you in an online space of, if you would have end your channel, the content lives on, I live on, and that opens up a whole different discussion. It's like this video is definitely split, but I kind of just feel like those are questions that I really like, and I don't feel like YouTube is that place. Like, yes, it's an online space, but I feel like it's not that space for these questions. I would rather have it somewhere else. And I think I'm getting to the point where not ending the channel, that's not it. But I would just rather have that space, like that space to do it, like, It's so interesting. But it is like the subtle death energy, this rebirth energy that I'm feeling, but it's based in technology and based in technological spaces. And what happens when your channel dies? What happens when your interest in pursuing this technological path, these gigabytes, die? Like, what happens to that? I think Saturnaria was touching on this, but not in the way that I'm explaining. Yeah, like it's a techno death in a way, techno rebirth, techno turnover, techno spiral. It's something happening. Uranus is transiting my house that I have Venus in. So I have Venus in Taurus, and then the North Node is in Taurus. So it's kind of like we're getting our aesthetics and we're getting our core values and we're getting this face that we put out there together. And with Uranus being in Venus, like how we are online matters, where we're online matters, the comfort of that online space matters. South Node is in Scorp, so like this power play. I know she was talking about like talking too much about personal matters and what's the balance, and for me it's not really that. It's just, can you handle having all of this in one ecosystem, right? Everything I want to talk about in one ecosystem, and the truth is not really. And so I've had to kind of find different platforms, and that's spreading me kind of thin. It's just a very interesting space. Like, I just want to clean up everything. I want to move everything out. I want to get rid of the stuff that I don't fucking need because it's about to be fall. Just my season. I'm not a summer person, even though I'm a summer baby born like basically right after the summer equinox. Summer solstice, I'm sorry. The summer solstice. Born right after that shit. Not a summer person at all. Not at all. But yeah, those are the things that I'm like processing in. It's just interesting. It's not an aging out, but it is. It's like my Saturn return is here. I'm changing my aesthetics. I'm changing how I see beauty. I'm changing how I present myself to the world. I'm changing careers. I'm doing like a lot of shit, and that's changing ultimately my perception of what life was and what life is and where life goes and where life stops and where life starts, you know, where it begins and ends. And it's just so interesting to like explore that. But back to the decks, I want to go deeper with decks, but I'm interested in smaller communities, and I'm interested in more one-on-one, and I'm interested in developing my own private practice, getting more into ancestral work, at a deeper level to where like I'm actually practicing things. So I'm looking at different spaces for that and carving out new technological homes kind of via a platform. It's kind of interesting, you know? You outgrow it. Like, you know, when you start on YouTube as a YouTuber, I don't know, sometimes I feel like you think that this shit's gonna like last forever, and then it doesn't, and you become a part of a community, but maybe not in the way that people think, as in like you comment on people's videos and you comment on yours all the time, but you're a part of this community in some way because you're sharing not necessarily the same thoughts about things, but you're kind of in the same realm. You know, you like tarot decks, you explore different books, you explore different practices and stuff like that. It's just really interesting. And so to kind of know that you are, as this Saturn lesson is coming, more more individuation, there we go. As in figuring out where you want to be and where you want to go, and knowing that that comes with some really tough decisions about what gets to stay and what gets to go. It's kind of like just so strange to me, because it's like you keep doing it over and over, and then you start to notice, oh, I need to do that. I was going to do a video series about death cycles via the elements, and I might do it via the planets as well. Content, that's so crazy. Content, yeah, like I've noticed a lot about where my mind goes, and I know that the written word will always be where I am. I don't know, there's something spiritual about the written word that, and that's probably what I'm craving. I'm craving the written word. I'm craving that. It's almost like I feel like, even with Uranus energy, I'm really feeling like, and even though it's retrograde and I'm feeling kind of restricted, when Uranus is in this Taurus energy, it's almost like we go back. It's like old money, like Taurus, and then this new way of being, and sometimes realizing that the first way that you wanted to explore the world was the best way, and not that the new way was wrong, and not that you deviated and you were false, but that you were false and that you deviated, and that you're coming closer to self through having deviated. And so it's kind of like you set yourself up for your own like ego death, your own ego techno death, your own, you know, you set yourself up for that. These are fascinating things. Just fascinating. So I'm exploring new decks and stuff like that. I have a few decks that we definitely gotta go. It's gonna be like a 3, 4, 5 part series. Because I mean, yeah, like I might try to do all that content this week, because next week I kind of want to start doing the planetary videos, because I just kind of want that. So yeah, like there's so many things. I did want to also introduce a reading, a death reading, a 13 reading is what I would call it, with the death card being the center of it. But you know, censorship on here is kind of like getting weird too, and that's also another reason for thinking of other ways. Just because, you know, we gotta carve our own lanes and stuff like that. And I think there's just so many spaces popping up. But yeah, that's what I'm kind of thinking about. And I might just roll into the next video of decks that are fucking leaving, because I know that they gotta leave for new stuff to come in, and I have to like unload. It's always like how the second half of the year I have to unload and get all this shit ready, because it's always like my new year energy starts coming in around Sagittarius season. I mean, like around my birthday, that new energy is there, and whatever karma I've like built up, whatever shit I built up, like literally gets paid out the rest of the year. And then by Sagittarius season, I'm in a new year. I can do 2023 things. I can do a whole bunch of stuff. So it's just a really weird space. So, all right. Thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed this video. I'll see you in the next one, which will be the decks that are leaving my collection and kind of like where I want to go. So yeah, stay tuned. Peace.